to the Marin City Community Service District 23rd Annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Celebration. Many fought hard to make sure that this day is on the calendar as we pay our tribute to him and keeping his message alive. Our theme this year is passing the torch. And I'm gonna start and do it today. Today I am honored to have my co-host, my daughter, Samil Austin, who I will continue to let her know about our history, our wisdom, and just the love of our culture.
Hello everyone. I'm honored to be sitting here next to my dad, and I am so happy to have the torch passed on to me by those who I respect and those who have made me the person who I am today.
That's awesome. Well, today we have a great lineup for you guys, and I'm so excited. But before we get started, we're going to take some time, and we're going to have a prayer by Bishop Jonathan D. Logan, libations for our ancestors by Queen Amina, and the Black National Anthem sung by NDB.
Bless you. I am Bishop Jonathan Logan, the pastor of Cornerstone Community Church of God in Christ, here in Marin City, California, where I've served for over 36 years now. I'm a part of the Ministerial Alliance, and I am going to be praying today, but I'd like to let you know that I'm a part of a wonderful group of men comprised of Dr. Rondell Leggett and Pastor Marcus Small. We are the Ministerial Alliance, and we work tirelessly to make sure that things are happening here in Marin City. And we're so grateful for the opportunity that this day affords to pass the torch to the next generation. Generational faith is something that's very important and something that has been handed to us through the Bible. We understand the significance of it, and it's with a great joy that we're doing that on this very monumental day. Let us pray at this time. Our Father and our God in heaven, we are so grateful and thankful to you for another opportunity and privilege to come before you just to thank you and to praise you and to worship you for who you are. It was you who brought us to where we are, and we're grateful for it. We ask, Lord, that the festivities of this day be a blessing to so many. We ask, Lord, that you would bless our community. Lord, that you would shine upon us even in the midst of the crisis that we're in. Show yourself strong in each of us, in each of our lives, and we will give you praise. We thank you, Lord, for our forefathers and all of those that paved the way before us. And here we are, Lord, just asking you to bless us, Lord, to impart to the next generation those things they will need so that they can be strong and thrive. We honor you and we give you praise for these things now. In the wonderful name of Jesus, amen.
Mama Africa, how are you doing, Mama? Mama Africa, long time me no see you, Mama. They took me away from you, Mama. Yeah, yeah. Long before I was born. They took me away from you, Mama. Oh yeah, long before I came home. And I say, Mama Africa, how are you doing, Mama? Mama Africa, long time in to see you, Mama. Africa, Ashe, our motherland, Ashe, our fatherland, Ashe, on which our ancestors stand. Africa, Ashe, the mother of civilization, the father of culture, of good vibrations. Ashe, we give thanks, Ashe, to our great African ancestors all throughout the land. Come on, Ashe, 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 to our ancestors.
Ashe.
We give thanks.
Ashe.
We give praise.
Ashe.
Come on.
Ashe.
Come on.
Ashe.
To our great ancestors of Kemet, now Egypt. Our great ancestors of Nubia, now the Sudan.
Ashe.
Our great ancestors of Cush and Axum, now Ethiopia and Eritrea.
Ashe.
Our great ancestors of Punt, now Somalia.
Ashe.
Our great ancestors of the Swahili coast.
Ashe.
Azania, now South Africa.
Ashe.
Of great Zimbabwe.
Ashe.
Of the Luganda and Buganda empires. Our great Yoruba ancestors, our great Igbo ancestors, our great Fulani ancestors, our great Hausa ancestors, our great ancestors of the Senegambia, those of the empires of Mali, of Songhai, of Gao, all those ancestors who were the Almoravids, the Moors, those who were the first to travel to Europe, those who were the first to travel to Asia, Australia, Tasmania, the great Pacific Islands, those ancestors who are indigenous on this land, those ancestors who were here way before Columbus, those great Olmec, Toltec, those Mayan ancestors, those Ohlone ancestors of this land which we now stand, to those ancestors who were the Sioux, the Homa, the Cherokee, all the ancestors of this land, to those ancestors who were the first doctors, the first mathematicians, the first philosophers, the first astronomers, the first astrologers, those who paved the way for civilization and made it possible for us to be in this here nation. To all those ancestors, we say, Ashe. Ashe. And to our ancestors who survived and thrived despite the horrors of the Arab slave trade. To those ancestors who survived and thrived despite the horrors of the European transatlantic slave trade. Those ancestors who were brought to the Americas, to the Caribbean, to South America. Those who were brought here to South Carolina, to Georgia, to Mississippi, to Texas, to Louisiana, to Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas, Alabama. All those ancestors who made it possible for us to be here today, we give thanks and praise. And to those ancestors who orchestrated the over 200 enslaved rebellions throughout the United States and the Americas history, and who never stopped fighting for us to be recognized for who we are today, to those ancestors who made it possible for us to know Dr. Martin Luther King, who made it possible for us to still dream. To all those ancestors, we say Ashe. Ashe. And we also give thanks to the youth, as the youth are the truth, the youth are our future. And so to all those who have been victims of police terrorism, victims of domestic terrorism known as white supremacy, to those ancestors whose names we know and don't know, to all those ancestors, we say Ashe. Ashe. And to the future, we say Ashe. Ashe. And we pour this water as our body is made up of majority water, as is the earth is made up of majority water. And with water there is life. And so we pour this water in honor of our lives flowing, and that life will continue to flow. And so we close our libations with this prayer from our ancient Yoruba ancestors, just representing the goodness of water. We say, Allah geja geja, abomi tutu antorumboye, abomi tutu entayeshe, Allah geja geja, abomi tutu entayeshe, kyo wabawa tunile aye tawashe, omyo. We meet water, bringing peace and comfort on this earth, And we thank you, water, for continuing to bring peace and comfort into our lives. We ask that just as water that flows from heaven leaves its mark on this earth, may we all leave our mark on our communities. Ashe.
Ashe.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven rings with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening sky. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun, let us march on till victory is won. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the day when hope unborn had died, yet with a steady beat have not our weary feet come to a place for which our fathers sighed. We have come over a way that with tears have been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered. Out from a gloomy past, till now we stand at last in the white gleam of our bright star is cast. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who had brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in the path we pray, lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met thee, lest our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee, shadowed beneath thy hand, may we forever stand true to our God, true to our native land.
Ooh, man, that was beautiful. Wasn't that wonderful? I tell you, I really did enjoy that. Now let's pay tribute to the man, Dr. King himself. And we also have a group of young panelists that's going to have an open discussion about the videos that we're about to watch.
How I got over, how did I make it over? You know my soul look back and wonder how did I make it over? How I made it over? Coming on over all these years. You know my soul look back and wonder how did I make it over? Tell me how we got over, Lord. Had a mighty hard time coming on over. You know my soul look back and wonder how did we make it over? Tell me how we got over, Lord. I've been falling and rising all these years, but you know my soul look back and wonder how did I make it over? But soon as I can see Jesus, the man that died for me, man that bled and suffered, and he hung on Calvary, and I want to thank him for how he brought me, and I want to thank God for how he taught me. Oh, thank my God how he kept me. I'm gonna thank him 'cause he never left me. Then I'm gonna thank God for old-time religion. And I'm gonna thank God for giving me a vision. One day I'm gonna join the heavenly choir, and I'm gonna sing and never get tired. And then I'm gonna sing somewhere around God's altar, and I'm gonna shout all my trouble over. You know I got to thank God, thank him for being so good to me. Lord, how I made it over, Lord. I had to cry in the midnight hour, coming on over. But you know my soul look back and wonder how did I make it over? Tell me how I made it over. Lord, 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 falling and rising all these years. You know my soul look back and wonder how did I make it over? I'm gonna wear a dyed garment in that New Jerusalem. I'm gonna walk the streets of gold. It's in that homeland of the soul. I'm gonna view the host in white. They've been traveling day and night, coming up from every nation. They're on their way to the great coronation, coming from the north, south, east, and west. They're on their way to a land of rest. And then we're gonna join the heavenly choir. You know we're gonna sing and never get tired. And then we go sing somewhere around God's altar. And then we gonna shout all our trouble over. You know we got to thank God. Thank you for being so good to me. You know, I come to thank God this evening. I come to thank him this evening. You know, all night long, God kept his angels watching over me. And early this in my name. I rose this morning. I rose this morning. I rose this morning. I feel like shouting. 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 Feel like shouting. I feel like shouting. I just got to thank God. I just got to thank God. I just got to thank God. I just got to thank Him. Thank God for being so good. God being good to me.
That was such a beautiful tribute to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. But before we move any further, I just want to say that I'm having a wonderful time, and hopefully you are too. Feel free to put some stuff in the chat, respond to us, let us know how we're doing. But there's one thing that we did forget. We forgot to welcome, and we want to make sure that you guys are welcomed by Miss Royce McLemore. I've known Royce all my young life, and she's been a pillar here in the community for everything that she has done. And I am grateful for her, for all the hard work, all the advocacy work that she has done in our community. So before we move forward, we want Ms. Royce to officially welcome everybody to the Dr. Martin Luther King Celebration.
My name is Royce McLemore, and I am a long-term member of the Marin City Community Services District Board. I'm the elder on the board. I'd like to greet you in the name of the Marin City Community Services District to this beautiful celebration. Not only do I want to introduce myself, I want to do a little of me. I am a long-term resident of Marin City. I've been here over 70-some years. I have raised my children, grandchildren, and now I have great-grandchildren that are on the way. And so Marin City is a very, very special place for me. And not only for me, but for the legacy, my legacy. I have, as a matter of fact, one of my 21 grandchildren that will be on the panel today. And so it's a great honor and a privilege that the Foster McLemore is still going forward here in this beautiful valley of Marin City. Welcome, and hope that you enjoy this day. Thank you.
That was awesome. Thank you, Ms. Royce, for that wonderful welcome. Now we're going to move forward to our panelists. Our panelists of people, they're going to be making discussions and having open conversation and dialogue about what Dr. Martin Luther King went through in his day and what we're going through today. There's so many similarities. And so I'm excited to hear what people have to say and share with you guys. So let's get to our panelists who will be talking to you throughout this event.
Right. Well, welcome everyone to our distinguished panel. We have, our host already introduced everyone, and I'm just really happy to be in the presence of these young people who really represent taking the torch and not only holding it in their hands, but walking with it strongly, proudly, and running with it as they learn more information and gain more knowledge. So that being said, my name is Oshala D, and I am the director of the MC Arts Gallery and Collective here in Marin City, and I'm just so happy to be hosting this panel. Wow, now that is some power. Look at all those people. So a couple of thoughts come to mind. First of all, it was really nice to just see Dr. King and kissing his wife and having his family connected to him. This is just images that I didn't really grow up seeing of Dr. King. I just always grew up seeing him by himself, maybe with Coretta, but always with the I Have a Dream speech. So here's the question, the thought. Dr. King was clearly a leader. He wasn't a politician. He stood for the liberation of black people. Specifically, he was clear on that. And he held politicians accountable. And, you know, in his time, it was the Democrats that he was holding accountable. So my question to you really quickly is, if those were Republicans, do you think King would it have made any difference whether it was a Republican Party or a Democratic Party that he was actually negotiating with or demanding, I'm not going to say negotiating, demanding civil rights for black people? I'm going to put it out there to the panel, that question.
No, I don't think it would have made a difference to who he talked to and how he got his point across. The purpose was to, you know, have peace amongst all of us. So, you know, whether you're Democratic or Republican, it didn't matter. It's just the injustice system. So that's my take on that.
Yeah, I agree with Shannon, what he said. I think it didn't matter what political party, being it Republican or Democrat, it's about the black agenda, right? And whoever is in charge of the government.
You feel that the black agenda is outside of the Republican or the Democratic agenda?
Yes, I do feel like that. And I mean, just to be honest, it doesn't matter what party it is, they're not for black people. You know, we've been in this country for hundreds of years, right? And whether it be the Democratic or Republican, we have still not attained just like the basic human right just to live freely. You know, we're still getting shot down just because of the color of our skin. The civil rights movement, even though that was decades ago, we're still fighting that fight. So it's all about the black agenda and whoever's in control. Thank God, you know, Trump is now going to be out of office. But I feel like as black people, we have to go to these politicians and people in power, because this is where these laws are being made. And we have to change the law in order for, you know, change to be manifested.
I also believe that Dr. King would have talked to anyone that he could talk to, period, whether it was an animal or a human. He just wanted everyone to be on the same page, and also live for each other and actually be a human and look at somebody else, no matter what their color was, as a human. I also like to think about a Republican and a Democrat today in today's society. And what does that really mean when you have people in both parties, but yet we're considered the same color, yet they only accept some of us and not all of us? But as black people, we accept all, no matter what color, what demographic, and we don't judge. So being who he was going to make sure that people understood his agenda and the agenda that he was trying to push forward. And so regardless of who you were, he was going to let you know.
I agree with everyone and with what everyone stated. I like the saying, same bird, different wings. So we have our left wing and we have our right wing. And yes, it's shown to be different, but at the end of the day, the Republican Party and the Democrat Party, in my eyes, are the same, because either way, they have not treated us equally. So yes, I believe that Martin Luther King would have spoken to the Republicans the same way he did with the Democrats. It's about accountability and holding who the people are in power accountable. So yes.
In a democracy, the power is literally with the people. That's what a democracy is all about. And that crowd, that march on Washington, all of those people, when I see it, that was power. So my question is, did the Democratic Party co-opt the civil rights movement In other words, we become synonymous now with the Democratic Party that used to be the Dixiecrats, actually, which weren't not that favorable to us. And yet the civil rights movement, because the Democrats were in power, you know, they've been really, I mean, have they been riding on our coattails and taking us for granted, and taking our vote for granted? That's the question. Did they steal the fire? You know, all that masses. Could we have taken that mass energy and created another party, the Civil Rights Party, for example? I'll put it out to you.
I believe that they did create another party, and it was the Black Panther Party, but once again, that was debunked. And when you look at it and you look at the history, they were actually trying to start a political party, and the FBI knew that. So I just feel like they didn't steal our fire, because as we've seen recently with the votes in the Senate and how Georgia went out and all those black voters got those Democrats into office, I don't think they stole our fire, but I definitely do believe that they have taken our votes for granted. I think it's going to change in the upcoming years, though. So
I agree. I do feel like they are riding on the wave of like Black Lives Matter, the civil rights movement, because like I said before, I mean, the Black agenda, are they addressing it? Like Dr. Martin King said, cut the check. Where is our money? You know, I just feel like the Democrats, it's convenient, right? It's convenient that these marches for civil rights for Black people are happening, and they can use that for their political gain, right? But are they really thinking about us? Are they really genuinely for Black people in America? I would have to say no, I don't think so, because I don't see it. I don't see it manifested. We still see the disparity in our educational system and housing. So it's like, why are we still having these same conversations in 2021? So no, they don't.
Yeah, you're right about that. They treat us like a trend or something. Like, you know, they advertise to us, they advertise us, and they don't give back. It's no reciprocity in that. You know, it's just, you do this, we sell that to you, and, you know, you buy the product or you don't, or we give you what we give you, and you thankful for it, but the rest we'll keep. You know, we'll tax you extra, but the rest of all the money that you spending for your family, you know, we'll go ahead and keep that, and we're gonna tax you on top of that too. So it's no get back. It's not, the tables are not even.
Last point around this video, making the parallel between the Black Lives Matter movement and the civil rights movement. Do you see any parallels and any similarities in the two movements? And do you feel that the Black Lives Matter movement, Aaliyah, you were talking about the infiltration of the Black Power, Black Panther Party. Do you feel at this point, on this day, you know, January 18th, do you feel that the Black Lives Matter movement has been infiltrated by agendas that are not in alignment with the Black agenda, even though it's called Black Lives Matter? At this point, now that we have some perspective, just curious to your thoughts on that.
My personal opinion is that the coattail keeps going. Once you allow someone to come in and dictate any portion of what they give you, you automatically have to listen to what they say. And that's what society has done to us. Even the whole idea of reparations or even nonprofits, we're asking the county to give us money, but yet they're telling us what to do with our people in our dollars that you have given to us. And so it makes me think 1,000 times over about why they decided not only to choose us and keep us down, but how can we move forward with us having these conversations, and we're continuing to have these conversations. Even like Malachi said, they still haven't done anything So we're the ones who actually have to do something. We can no longer sit here and let them tell us what to do. That means we have to create more. That means we have to put our 2 minds together. That means we have to put our 2 cents together just to make that dollar last longer, excuse me. Another thing, money is a concept. Money is something that they ingrained in us. Money is essentially not even real. So for us to go secure a bag, really, we're securing the happiness, but we forget that part because society has told us that money rules everything. But yet they also say that money is the root of all evil. If you really look at how money is constructed to us, you'll see why we act this way. You'll see why we're pinned against each other just for the little bit, the little crumbs. When in reality, we are the people who will be the ones to take over in any shape or form because we're the ones who started it all, in my own opinion.
One of the things that Martin Luther King said in his video is when they was interviewing him, they asked him if he was militant, I believe. And he said, you know, I feel like I'm militant. You know, it's a strategy behind it. Those not exact words, but there is a strategy to how to, I guess, pull each other together. Mm-hmm. And if, you know, we do want to be better and thrive and have everything that we want, then we need to work together towards obtaining that because they obviously not going to give us nothing. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying? They're not giving us nothing. So it's up to us to pull together, you know, our businesses, our families, and stop fighting amongst each other for the little bit that they do give us, you know. So that's just my take on it.
And then, yeah, just about the infiltration of like the Black Lives Matter movement. I mean, if we look at the videos that were broadcasted all over the world, a lot of them were not black, right? There were a lot of white people in different races. We were a small minority, really, of this big movement. And I mean, I am grateful, right, that we do have support from other races, but we still have to remember that this is our fight. Mm-hmm. We have to be the ones on the front line fighting this battle because, you know, who knows us better than ourselves? And I just feel like, yeah, we need to come together more. And it was a time, the pandemic, you know, people had a lot of time on their hands, and this was like a great time just to like be rived up and fight, right? But we need to be like this all the time.
The infiltration comes from when we trust other people. We trust outside races and not races, but ethnicities, because we're an accepting, you know, culture. We always kind of want to, you know, make our thing, but make people also be included. We're all inclusive, but exclusive, you know? But the thing that I want you guys to really understand is that Black Lives Matter started with us, but because we allow people to tell us what to do and not, you know, really have a conversation about the real and the transparency of the fact that we just literally have to have the conversations with all generations with an actual goal, that's the difference between a dream and a goal. A goal has action steps. A dream is just something that you have in your mind when you're asleep. And until you can actually manifest that dream to make it a goal, we're going to still be having these conversations with no actual action steps. And so to really pass the torch with conversations with solutions, not just problems, because we already know the problems. They are just now understanding the true problem, but yet now we can give them a piece of paper that says solution.
That's real talk. Thank you, Ayana. Thank you. All right, let's continue with the rest of the program.
Man, that was a wonderful conversation. I love just seeing my people coming together, having open dialogue. Michaela, Ayana, Leah, Shannon, I commend you for what you just spoke about. That was truly, truly good. As you see, me and my daughter, we are practicing some of the safety hazards around COVID, which is really real. We do live in the same household, that's why you may see us so close. But you also saw on the panel exactly how we have people spaced out just to make sure that everybody is practicing their safety measures. As we fight through this pandemic, right? We know that we've been stuck in 2 different pandemics this year too. And so I'm looking forward to 2020. We had the pandemic around Black Lives Matter, which is a huge one to this nation, because until folks is done right, until black people is done right, then we're not gonna be able to move forward. So it's gonna take everybody to continue to march and protest, but also write letters, make emails, connect yourself to an organization in order for us to move forward. I'm super excited. But now, next, what we're getting ready for is we're ready to introduce our next presenter, our next speaker. He is none other than Dr. Bill Riley, who is a native of Oakland, California. He attended Oakland Public Schools and transferred from Merritt College, where he was the student body president, to the University of San Francisco. He earned a BA in sociology, and physical education. He then attended San Francisco State University. My grandma went there, where he earned a master's in educational administration. And then he returned back to USF, where he received his doctorate in educational policy. Community is very important to Bill, who has served on the Oakland Zoo Board and on the City of Oakland Parks and Recs Advisory Commission for 13 years. In addition, he served on the Parata Community College Board of Trustees from 1998 to 2018, representing a large population of Oakland and the entire city of Piedmont. He is currently a member of the Martin Luther King Jr. Freedom Center Board and the Piedmont Montclair Rotary Club. Most recently, Bill was appointed by the Oakland Mayor, Libby Schaaf, to serve on the Oakland Foundation for Children and Youth Planning and Oversight Committee. Let's all welcome Dr. Bill Riley.
Thank you very much for this invitation to participate in this Marin City celebration on the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. My name is Bill Riley, and several of us have been following and studying the great Dr. Martin Luther King since our undergrad school. I was at Merritt College and then transferred to the University of San Francisco. And I said again, it's indeed a pleasure just to share a couple comments this afternoon. I'd like to share just a few comments regarding the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The comments are going to be mainly directed towards the title, the theme of this celebration, Martin Luther King's Radical Love and Passing the Torch. Since 1619, black folks have been passing the torch, always hoping and praying that the next generation would advance from this peculiar institution that black race finds himself in. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King time on earth could be considered short, 1928 to 1968, but his journey is everlasting. Yes, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King loved and was a radical. In a quote from Martin Luther King, "Love is the most durable power in the world." When I say love, those who oppose you, it's not speaking of love in a sentimental or an affectionate sense. It would be nonsense to urge men to love their oppressors in an affectionate sense. When I refer to love, it's in the context of, I mean, good and goodwill and understanding. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's grandfather, great-grandfather, and father were all ministers, and they passed the torch of leadership to Martin. Reverend King's father was a Republican, like most blacks at the time. He single-handedly brought a major Republican conference to Atlanta, Georgia in the 1940s, staged at a local baseball stadium. I share this because in 1960, during the presidential election, his son, Martin Luther King Jr. was in jail. Basically, a call from the Kennedy camp assisted in getting Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. out of jail. That coming Sunday, the word spread throughout the black churches and communities. Many enlightened historians credit blacks with putting John Fitzgerald Kennedy in the White House. Now, 61 years later, Raphael Warnock, pastor at Ebenezer Baptist Church, where Martin Luther King was a pastor, and his father is now a United States Senator, passing the torch. Jackie Robinson passed the torch in 1949. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. often credited Robinson with making his job so much easier. So then came, just to name a few, Willie Mays, Barry Bonds, Muhammad Ali, Bill Russell, Stephen Curry, Wilma Rudolph, Venus and Serena Williams, Debbie Thomas, Tiger Woods. Today, athletes have emerged and benefited tremendously, and now many present-day athletes are carrying the torch. In 1957, Dr. Martin Luther King new organization, Southern Christian Leadership Conference, passed the torch to the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, the National Urban League, Congress of Racial Equality, Voter Education Project, Black Lives Matter, passing the torch. Mrs. Rosa Parks, a seamstress, triggered the Montgomery boycott. Blacks stood up and fought as they passed the torch. Coretta Scott King, a classical musician and wife of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. Maya Angelou, a great poet, author, and an activist. Dr. Shirley Thornton, an outstanding educator and a Marin City community leader. They all passed the torch. Reverend King passed the torch in so many areas. Black artists, many whom not only supported him, but raised funds and brought the artistic consciousness to the cause, passing the torch. Entertainers played a crucial role in raising money to further the cause. They work, Sam and Dave, Harry Belafonte, Mahalia Jackson, Denise Nichols with the Free Southern Theater, James Brown, Eartha Kitt, Lena Horne, Dick Gregory, are just a small sample that helped pass the torch. Many ministers were on board. The late, great C.L. Franklin, Aretha Franklin's father, crossed the country with Reverend Martin Luther King and many other ministers in raising funds and support right here in San Francisco at Third Baptist Church. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. had a book signing under the direction of the late Frederick D. Haynes Sr. From that torch was passed on to Supervisor Terry Francois, Supervisor Doris Ward, Mayor Willie Brown, and Mayor London Breeze. What does this tell us? 1, always be encouraged. 2, folks cannot ride your back if you're standing tall. 3, you are the change maker. Society change makers who passed the torch: Huey P. Newton, Black Panther Party; Tommy Smith and John Carlos, 1968 Olympics; the Women's National Basketball Association; Barack Obama continued to pass the torch; and many other unknown soldiers who we will never be able to recognize. Let's stop here for a moment. Who is in your life that has passed the torch to you? In the words of Dr. King on excellence, in this new age, we Negroes will be forced to compete with people of all races and nationalities. Therefore, we cannot aim merely to be a good Negro teacher or good Negro doctor or good Negro minister or good Negro skilled laborer. We must set out to do a good job, irrespective of the race, and do it so well that nobody else can do it any better. If it falls your lot to be a street sweeper, Sweep streets as Raphael painted pictures. Sweep streets as Michelangelo carved marble. Sweep streets as Beethoven composed music. Sweep streets as Shakespeare wrote poetry. Sweep streets so well that all the host of heaven and earth will have to pause and say, here lived a great street sweeper who swept his job well. The Martin Luther King Jr., Fannie Lou Hamer, and Congressman John L. Lewis passed the torch. Now it's our time to help Vice President Kamala Harris and U.S. Senator Raphael Warnock to pass the torch. Question, where would we be now if Martin Luther King Jr. had not been a person of radical love and didn't pass the torch? Let's again stop here for a moment. Who is in your life that has passed the torch to you? Have you accepted it? I'd leave with this. Keep Marin City passing the torch. Many thanks to the Marin City Martin Luther King Jr. Coalition Celebration, and may Godspeed. Thank you.
Greetings. My name is Terry Harris Green, and I am the Executive Director of Short Marin City, an environmental justice organization that's focusing on climate change, sea level rise, flooding.
All right, you guys, that was wonderful. I really enjoyed the wisdom that we heard from Dr. Bill Riley. His message was right on point, and I am grateful. This is it's a beautiful day. Everything is rolling, and so now we're about to get ready for our next presenter, which I'll allow my daughter to introduce.
Now, I would like to bring on live a very special guest. Someone who has been an advocate for many generations of Marin City residents, and who is now working with climate justice activists to bring attention to what is happening right here in Marin City. I am pleased to introduce my...
Hold on a second. We're going to come right back to Ms. Terry Green in just a few minutes. We have a few technical difficulties, but in the meantime, what we're going to do is we're going to introduce a man himself, an indigenous man. So Dr. King was a man whose mission went beyond the civil rights movement. Many of us know his work that he did on behalf of poor people, but then about all races also. So now we'd like to hear from a Native American who will speak some of Dr. Martin Luther King words right now.
Everybody, my name is David Escobar, and I am a former representative to the County Board of Supervisors with the 4th District. I retired, and now I'm living and working up in Sonoma County, but my roots are still part of here in Marin County, and my collaborative spirit has always been here in Marin City, as many other parts of Marin County as well. I want to congratulate those people that put this effort together to commemorate Martin Luther King and all his efforts towards social justice and civil rights. My background is Lenca-Patan Indigenous. I am part of this continent, and I am a recognized tribal member for my community. I've been with the indigenous movements of this continent for over 30 years. My daughter is also a registered tribal member of the Cheyenne River Reservation as a Lakota. Today I really wanted to just read a few quotes from Dr. Martin Luther King and really reinstate the fact that indigenous peoples of the Americas with those descendants of Africa have always had a connection, and we always will maintain that connection here and forever. I think it's really critical, especially during these times of upheaval in our country, that we stay united and focused on the prize, as Dr. Martin Luther King indicated. Dr. Martin Luther King said, quote, "Our nation was born in genocide when it embraced the doctrine that the original American the Indian was an inferior race. Even before there were large numbers of Negroes on our shore, the scar of racial hatred had already disfigured colonial society. From the 16th century forward, blood flowed in battles over racial supremacy. We are perhaps the only nation which tried as a matter of national policy to wipe out its indigenous population. Moreover, we elevated the tragic experience into a noble crusade. Indeed, even today, we have not permitted ourselves to reject or feel remorse for this shameful episode. Our literature, our films, our drama, our folklore, all exalt it. Our children are still taught to respect the violence which reduced a red-skinned people of an earlier culture into a few fragmented groups herded into impoverished reservations.
Man, I hope everybody is at home really enjoying this and really celebrating the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I know I am. I'm enjoying myself today and being able to listen to all the great speakers. But we're not going to stop. We're going to continue to push forward and continue to fight in Dr. King's name and in his legacy. He has given us so many things that we can utilize today and to put into action. So at home, I want you to think about some action items that you can start doing to further what Dr. King left, his legacy that he left behind. So that's an action that you can do at home. You can have a conversation about the meaning of Dr. Martin Luther King legacy, and then just start getting creative and figure out what are you going to do within your own household.
So next interview was conducted on the popular Mike Douglas show when Martin was 38 years old. Although we now see Dr. King as a man